I want to say something also inspired in the documents of the Pope. And it's in the line that we already have heard about His Excellency and about the President. The first affirmation is that the history of the formation of European nations goes hand in hand with evangelization. So much that that is confirmed by the fact that the frontiers of Europe coincide with the penetration of the gospel. After 20 centuries of history, in spite of the bloody conflict which have confronted the people of Europe, and in spite of the spiritual crisis which have made the life of the continent, it's clear that also today remain this conscience. It might be said that the European identity is incomprehensible without Christianity. And that is precisely in Christianity that we find those common roots, the idea of the human person and the other solidarity that say the President, these common roots of the civilization of the continent, we find in this, his culture, his dynamism, his activity, his capacity constructive, and his expansion for the other continent, for example, Latin America and Africa, as well, all the things positive, and we can say in the end, his glory. This is the glory of the European countries. And still today, the soul of Europe remain until this. I said just yesterday, Angela Merkel, in the commemoration of the festivity of Germany, quoted Cardinal Cusano and said just this. And I want to quote it here, a very important for me thoughts of Pope Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, with his characteristic clarity, immediate accessibility, and profoundness in this book, just recently published. Yes. The Pope Emeritus magnificently underlines that, he said, the idea of Europe is in the figure of Christ. The figure of Christ is at the center of European history and is the foundation of the true humanism, the new humanity, because if God has become man, the man acquires an entirely new dignity. If man, on the other hand, is merely the product of random evolution, and then his very humanity is an accident, said the Pope. And so, at some point, it will be possible to sacrifice man for apparently other high purposes. If man not have the dignity of children of God, son of God, is nothing, say the Pope. And this comes because the incarnation of Christ. Of course, Pope Benedict is, we say, the theologian Pope, and look all things in relation of Christ. And it's this, for me, is the best definition of the European countries. But, say the Pope, but if God has created a man, every single man thinks completely different. And if God himself has become one man, if he has suffered from man, as man, the man participates the dignity of God. And this is the dignity that is in the center of the European countries, and is in the center of all the conclusion of the European thinking. And the great error is not consider this, because if we don't consider the man as son of God, this is an attack to God. That is a very strong idea that this Pope. So I, as Latin American and Argentinian, that come from the same country of the Pope, look the European country, which that is the region of the world that must have contributed as the development of the world, both in the fields of ideas as in the fields of work, in art, in science, in all things. And well, I bless the Lord that has illuminated in this way with the gospel in the end, as said the Pope, with the idea of the incarnation of Christ, this country in a special form, with the presence of the apostles, especially the apostle Pierre and the apostle Paul. This is the land of the apostles, and was the Spirit of the Holy Spirit to inspire Paul, St. Paul, to come to Rome. So it's clear that this is a providential, and for this reason, we consider that the great play that say, I remember in the 1980 when Pope John Paul II, son John Paul II, was in Spain, and go to Santiago de Compostela and say that just the peregrinatio was in the origin, and quoted Goethe, and say the peregrinatio was the origin of the European countries and was a traversal form that the European countries had carried some kind of fraternity. And he say that the European countries need to become themselves. And the great call was to say, a successor of Peter and a bishop of Rome, I asked to Rome, I have a message to say to Rome, and this message is a creed full of life, and this: Europe, find yourself again, be yourself, discover your origins, revive your roots, revive those authentic values that made your history glorious, and your presence in the other countries beneficial. Revive your spiritual unity in a claim of full respect of the other religions and genuine freedoms. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God to belong to God. Do not proud of your achievements until you forget their possibility to negative consequence. Do not be depressed by the quantity of loss of your greatness in the world, or by your social and cultural crises that affect you today. You need to come back to your origin and continue to see and life of the world. And you need to say, as Jim, I can do it. This is incredible message that I think that we need to follow. And we don't know want to end with pessimism or sadness. On the contrary, and I quoted again Pope Benedict, that is quoted by Pope Francis, that say this: one reason for my hope, in my joy, say Pope Benedict, quoted by Pope Francis in the introduction, lies in the fact that the desire for God is deeply written in the human soul and cannot disappear. Centrally, for a time, it can be forgotten, put aside by other occupations, but God never disappears. It is simply true what St. Augustine said, that we humans are anxious until we meet God. The agitation that exists today in the European countries is a sign of God and this this research to God. And I hope that the human being, we always come back to this research of God that is the unique that can give satisfaction to the soul. In short, I finish. The real virus that affects the European country today is not only the COVID for the bodies of the people, but the absence of God in the soul. And the real therapy for the European countries is to follow the Benedictine way, that is ora et labora. Thank you very much. I quoted the text that I recommended all of you, of the Pope John Paul II, the Declaration to Europeans, Santiago de Compostela, in November 1982. I was present in this meeting, what was fantastic, really.
Thank you, Monsignor Sánchez Sorondo, for your lively presentation.